Hello everybody, welcome. I am back talking about my story time. If you have not watched the previous video to this, I recommend that you go back and watch that one. Then this one will make a lot more sense because that one is the introduction and it kind of got a little cut off. So I'm continuing with the introduction and talking about what happened right after my health scare emergency that I had. Okay, so this story time is all building up the whole story of my twin flame journey from the beginning to where I am now. I also wrote a short book about it, and so I will have that linked in the description if you like to read or want to have that book. There's a lot more in there that I may not go over in the videos, and to me that book is more like a work of art, and it's my creative soul, just, and not that I have one, but just my creative energy and love that's still there, that's pouring out into the creation of this book. So there is no one named Nydia. There's no one separate than you or than anyone here. So when I'm talking about writing this book and even speaking this communication with you, that is just the divine energy that is creating, and that is the will that's happening here. So, so I'm not actually speaking. I think sometimes that I'm speaking and I'm not. Okay, so that is the realization that we're talking about here. And if you're just joining me with the twin flame journey, some of this stuff may not make sense to you yet, but it will, if you follow along with the story times. We'll build up on it, and some of these things that I say here and there will make a lot more sense. Okay, so going back to the story, so I think we left off with that I went to the hospital. And I think I maybe told a little bit more than that, but so I had gone to the hospital and they had found that I had high blood pressure. It was very high, and it was sustained high for a while. It was at stroke level 200 over 120, and then with medicine it went down to 175 over 110, around that ballpark. And I had to document all that and everything. And so my blood pressure wasn't exactly getting better. And they had given me all kinds of tests, and I think they tried 3 different medicines. So then they just kind of said it was genetic, but they were still trying to get it under control. So this one particular night, it had maybe been about 2 or 3 weeks after the initial hospital stay. I was feeling kind of bad, and I went and took my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was very high. So it was again at that stroke level, even though I was on medicine. So I went and asked my husband if I could go lay down and he could watch my daughter while, or our daughter, and I could lay down. So I went and laid down in the guest bedroom downstairs so that I could kind of hear what was going on with my daughter and my husband at that time, because she was little, and you know, I was her, you know, he's her dad, but I was her primary person that took care of her, and I just was always wanting to know what was going on. So so I was in the guest bed, and they were in the living room right next to that room. And I tried to just breathe and relax, and hopefully thinking that maybe my blood pressure was elevated more because of anxiety, or just, you know, not feeling well, or some sort of pain or something. So I thought if I just lay down and relax, this pain will pass, this anxiety will pass, and it'll be okay. So anyway, I laid there for a little bit, and I started to get more of a panic. So this is where I'm not really sure if I was dying or if I had a panic attack. But everything was in line with that I was dying. But I think previous to this, I had had a panic attack in the kitchen once, and that had been my first panic attack, and it had felt like I was dying. So so I don't know if this was a panic attack or if I was actually dying. But what happened next was I felt that I was dying, and something in me told me that I was dying, and I just had that sense. So I began to pray and pray that I would make it through, that I needed to be with my daughter. I didn't want to die. So I was just praying and basically pleading to God to help me live and change my health around. Well, all of a sudden, I felt like weightless, like I had just, like I wasn't in my body anymore. I didn't feel my body. I didn't feel anything. It just felt like nothing. So, all of a sudden that happened, and it was an enormous sense of peace. It wasn't frightening. It didn't hurt. I couldn't feel my body, but I felt like all that anxiety and tension I had in my chest and in my head, everything just like melted. And so it was just like a blanket of relaxation came over me. And then I began to get very scared again, because all of a sudden I felt that I was dying. I started tunneling through like black space, and all of a sudden I saw some light, and I could sense that I was meeting God, that something was happening, and all of a sudden I began to see images of my life, and I actually had a bit of fear. Before it all started, I knew that I was going to see images of my life, and I thought that I was going to be judged, and I thought that God was there. I hadn't seen God. I just thought that God was there, and that I was going to be judged, and that I was probably dying. So then the images began, and I got nervous, but all the images that came up were basically, I mean, like everything from my life. Just lots of different events, lots of different things just kept coming up, just like a movie screen. Like I could just see the images, and they would just go, and there was like feelings associated with them, and it was just like, this is beautiful, this is good, like just only positive feelings about each image that would pass. So all of these images passed till I got to the present moment, and I had no fear at that point. I noticed that this was more of a validation that everything that I had done up until that point was good, was for a reason, and there was love. So suddenly I began to feel a rush of love come all over me, and I had never felt so much love. Like it was just like I was just drowning in love. I mean, it almost felt like too much. And then I kept pleading that I wanted to live. I thought that I was dead. And I said, I just want to live. I just want to be with my daughter and make sure that she grows up well. I could hear her in the background out there in the living room. And I was saying these things in my head and praying. And then when suddenly after that, then the love feeling kind of started to go down, and then I was back into my body, and I could feel heaviness. I could feel my body like relaxing or sinking into the mattress, and that's when I felt myself back. And I kind of laid there for a while and just tried to think of everything that happened. I got up and I just went about my business. I can't remember now if I retook my blood pressure or not. But I still had a major sense of peace and love that I hadn't had before. So I wanted to like hug everybody, kiss everybody. I was very loving. I had a personality change, because previous to that I was not very affectionate. I was more of a cold person. And right after that, everything just changed. I became extremely loving and just always looking for the love in things. And I became a lot more relaxed. And I really had a change. So much of a change that I had to sit my husband down and explain to him everything that happened and why I was different, what was happening. And he was an atheist, a proclaimed atheist, and really didn't believe in God or any of that, and he just flat out told me he didn't want to hear about those kind of things. So I felt a little bit of rejection there, but the love was still there. That still remained. But things started to happen after that. Positive, looking back now, all positive. But at the time, they were just life-changing things that most people would say, your life's falling apart. So, for example, after that conversation with my husband, things started to like become a little clearer to me that he wasn't exactly with me, you know, completely wanting to help and be with me and things like that. And, you know, shortly after, I opened our computer and a bunch of information just literally popped up on this computer that this never had happened before. Like, I turned it on and a whole nother like operating system opened up. There was credit card accounts. There was a lot of things that I went through in that computer and that I had never seen. And it just pointed to that my husband had been deceiving me in just different ways. So I still had a lot of love and I was willing to work things out, but he was not. And that marriage fell apart because of that. And then, so with that, I lost my marriage. We had recently purchased a home. I left the home. I left the state. I left my job that I had loved and been working at for a long time. I got my daughter. I moved. So there was a lot of changes and kind of chaos in that time. But a lot of things were fitting back together. So, for example, my health began to get a whole lot better. I lost maybe 50 pounds and I got off all blood pressure medicine, any kind of medicine. I used to have sleep problems. I had like a mild addiction problem where in order to even to get close to falling asleep, I'd have to drink several glasses of wine. All of that disappeared. So I no longer needed wine, no longer needed to take a sleeping pill, no blood pressure pills. I had lost weight. I was exercising. I was eating healthy. A lot changed, like health-wise. Even mentally, a lot of things became a lot clearer to me. So that was the first heart's awakening that I had. And that was right when I had that medical emergency that I told my husband I had to go lay down after the hospital stay. And so that whole thing triggered, I think, that. But a lot began to change with me, and I think I'll stop the video here. And on the next video, I will talk about what happened when I moved back to my hometown and continue the journey from there. Okay? So thank you for watching, and check back with me for the next video.